Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder, and I have another follower-submitted AITA story for you. Am I the thunderhole for possibly getting one of my professors fired? To give some context, I am a doctorate student in my second year. Passing a lecture course at this level requires a grade of 80 or higher. Also, I am the only guy in my class. I took a course from Professor G, let us call her G, last semester. She is a terrific professor, although I had heard before enrolling in this course that she is difficult and occasionally overwhelming. She was fine for the first few weeks of the semester, nothing remarkable, but also not awful. In the third week of classes, the professor began to speak to me in a sexist manner, saying, "All men are drunken idiots who want to touch women improperly, even OP." I made the decision to ignore the comments and not deal with it. G's mother passed away about 2 or 3 weeks before our midterm. This was brought up in our class. G was absent while our program searched for a replacement, but the professor returned 2 days after her mother passed away. She claimed she was okay to teach and did not need a break. G's actions began to alter at this point. Later that week, my class took an exam. Everyone fared well, but our professor believed we cheated. She said, "There is no way most of you correctly answered question 4. No one should have, unless you cheated." She told us to get out a piece of paper and write down why we chose our answer to question 4. I noted that I had made a guess, but I did not know the answer. After receiving my justification, she responded, "Of course you would have guessed." I dismissed it because I was aware of her circumstances. A few days after the midterm, the entire class receives an email informing us that we all failed the midterm and are failing the course. To discuss how I can raise my grade, I made the decision to meet with her. I tell her now that it takes me 4 hours a day to finish the readings due to my dyslexia and ADHD. She urged, "Work harder." She also said, "You don't belong in graduate school and should not pursue this career path since you are lazy." All of her statements were unacceptable, so I went to my school's HR department's office. I informed them of everything she stated, and they promised to handle it. She made numerous rude remarks and treated my class horribly for the rest of the semester, but nothing that went too far. At the end of the semester, though, I noticed that my grades were beginning to change. Like assignments I submitted ahead of the midterm had a different grade. I should have received an 86 after the final, but I only received an 82.5 for my overall grade. One of my papers went from a 94 to an 86, and my participation grade decreased from an 80 to a 60. My theory is that she intended to reduce my grade as much as possible. An 82.5 and an 86 in my program equal a B. Hence, according to my theory, she adjusted my grade to the lowest B possible so that it would not influence my GPA and I would still receive a B. It was the last day of semester and I simply wanted to be done with this, so I decided to not report this to HR. G, though, is still on her warpath this semester. The same offensive things she told my class are being said to other classes. I do not think this is right, so I told HR that she changed my grades and stated other awful things she said to me. They claimed that changing a student's grades without justification is a big no-no, particularly with all the other things I have recorded. The HR representative predicted that she would face disciplinary action, which could result in her termination. Most people believe that I should have reported her, while some argue that given her mother's loss, I should not have said anything. Some are even calling me an asshole. So, am I the thunderhole? Nay, nay, you are absolutely not the asshole here. You, more so than anyone, were the target of her ire. So, you had more reason to speak up than anyone. Also, this is just not okay, period. It's not okay to be singled out. It's not okay to treat an entire class like that just because you're going through something in your life. There's also a power trip and power abuse element to this. The things that she is doing to people in her classes are life-altering. Those actions can affect someone's trajectory in life, their career path, and thus a whole lot of other things. Just because she's in a shitty mood or doesn't like someone, taking that out on people and harming their entire lives because she's in a bad mood or she's going through some shit is completely unacceptable. For an educator to use a position like this where they have the ability to influence and better so many people's lives by equipping them for the path that they're going to be on, to do the opposite and to abuse that power and squash people and belittle them and just use that position to take out her woes on someone else is completely out of line. And she should receive disciplinary action for that, and she should be terminated. If you abuse power, you don't get to keep that power. And look at it this way, you have a few people that are calling you an asshole for this. Those few people probably didn't receive as much of the focus as you did, so you have more reason than anyone to stand up and to say something. But also, think about the countless number of students that come in classes after you that would have gone through this except you spoke up and changed the trajectory of that for them so that hopefully a better educator gets put in that spot, does not abuse the power, does not belittle them, does not take out their life anger on their students and alter their path because they're just in a shitty mood. You've saved countless people here. So the few people that are calling you an asshole, who gives a shit what they say? Ultimately, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. You know that you're doing the right thing. And I think you probably looked at this entire situation and said, I know this isn't right. I know particularly for me, I received a concentrated dose of this bullshit, and I know that it's still going on to other people. So even if you're not going through it anymore, I think you were right to speak up. These kind of people shouldn't have this kind of power. You are, in my book, not the asshole. But let's see what the commenters say. I can't imagine anybody disagreeing with this. What she was doing, this instructor, G, is just unacceptable. So speaking up about it has to be acceptable, right? Tell me what you think.